Hey, everybody. Welcome to Making Connections. It's your girl, Aly. I hope everybody is having an amazing day. And I'm excited. You guys know we are making connections, and we're here every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Saturday at 12 noon. And I'm excited about our guest today. She's back with us again. So, hey, Alexis.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Good. This is the perfect day to have this, and you will appreciate it as a financial expert. I just discovered that somebody has fraudulently used my Experian account. And I'm like, isn't that the account that tracks fraud? How did somebody?
Right,
So I'm
right.
trying to fix the fraud from the fraud company, and they cannot get their heads around what happened. I'm like, I know.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
they'll fix it for you. They usually come through. They'll stay diligent. So
Yeah.
you
But I
stay
thought you'd
diligent with
appreciate
them,
that. I'm like, oh, the fun never ends.
truly. But listen, I'm glad that you have that account because did you get an alert?
No, actually. And I don't know when in the
You
last
didn't get
3 years.
alert.
So basically, somebody has changed the email address associated with my account. So I can't get in and I can't change my password because it goes to their account. And it happened in the last 3 years and I have not been alerted.
Really?
Yeah. So I went to log in to like just, coming
Yeah,
into this conversation. And when we talked, you got me all inspired to look at my finances and to make sure, when you're taking care of yourself, there comes a point when you got to take care of money to take care of yourself. And it
exactly.
feels good. So I was like, okay, get past the fear. Just do the things because it feels good. It nourishes you.
Right.
It makes you feel like you're taking care of yourself. And that's when I discovered it. And then I'm like, what was it? Now I have hours, you get hours of work to try to fix things and you can't get through on the phone because they have a computer. And,
Yeah.
so I'm trying to balance that and go, right, this is for me. This is still a gift for me, even if it's
Right.
frustrating and confusing. Yeah.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we just kind of jumped into the conversation,
But
but
we did.
before we continue, I want to give you an opportunity. I know you've been on the show before, and probably a lot of people saw you then, but in case it's their first time, because we do have some new viewers, woo, but I want to give you opportunity to introduce yourself, and we're going to talk more about this situation.
Yes. It's been a few years. So I'm Alexis Pierce. I don't expect anybody to remember me. I'm Alexis Pierce. Um, I'm a strategist by training, and now I do deep soul visioning with people. So I think most people really struggle to feel like they're actually living in a meaningful way and
Mhm.
doing things every day that feel like a fulfilling life. And so I help people just not take my truth, but tap into their own truth so that they can be happier. And when you're happier, you make better choices and then you feel really good about the way that you're living. So
Exactly.
that deep joy alignment.
Yes, and I think, well, this conversation is good any time of year, but it's this time of year when people start reflecting on, how the this year has gone, what they're going to change and implement in the new year and all kinds of stuff. So I think it's a really good time to have this conversation because people are dealing with a lot of things, and here at the end of the year, a lot of things are coming at us fast, but we still have to pay attention to them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so many of us pressure ourselves at the new year to all of a sudden wake up and be different people. And then and then we get mad when we fail to follow through on that. But wanting ourselves to be different and trying to like force that difference is actually a form of perfectionism.
Mhm.
And it's trying to be a perfect person in order to then earn the good things you want instead of instead of allowing yourself to just be more naturally you and to release some of that anger and the resentment and perhaps guilt that we carry and then tap into more authentic joy. And then we naturally just become more of who we are and everything feels better instead of trying to push ourselves into like being more grateful or more compassionate or kinder, all the things we tell ourselves we're going to be.
Because those things sound like those such good things to be, right? And so we're like, yes, we need to be more, compassionate and da 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 da. And you're like, oh my gosh. Is that
Yeah, and it's hilarious to me because it comes from this place of like, why can't you be more compassionate? I'm like, the hilarity of that. I'm like, To me, my experience is, because I had that pressure too, right? Why aren't I more grateful? Why aren't I more appreciative? Why, the opposite of that, why am I self-centered? All those thoughts that we have. And I realized that when I really start to take care of myself, compassion, empathy, kindness, it's a spontaneous reaction. I naturally give it to other people because I'm okay with myself. But when I try to give it to other people as a way to prove that I'm a good person and so that I can accept myself, I get all gunked up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just gotta flow naturally because, like you said, then you're like, well, how was I nice to this person? Did I speak to him? And then you just got all to remember all the things, and you just
Right.
because you want to stay on that same vein. How was I being funny that day? Was it no? It's too much, right?
Yeah. It's too much.
But I like the way you said that, like in the new year, you think you're going to be somebody different, and that different person earns you the right to enjoy life and be at peace, and that's so true. I mean, like, that is like a real statement. We don't think about it, but it's like we're we're earning the right to have joy. I mean, why can't we just have joy?
Right. I mean, I think at our core, joy is who we are. I think all of us, and I think we all feel this, that if we just if the world just disappeared for a little bit and stopped getting all up in our face, that we'd actually be fine. And I think that shows that at our core, we are really deeply peaceful and clear and happy and loving. But we've been taught, all of us have been taught, that it's our achievements that make us worthy people, or
Yeah.
that we're only proud of what we achieve, and we can't feel good about ourselves unless we've done something to prove that we are allowed to feel good about ourselves. And unfortunately, that just keeps us pursuing happiness instead of actually learning how to be happy. And
Right.
chasing and being are very, very different. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Man, see, I'm up here taking notes already because I'm like, that is good. This is what's happening right now. That's how I'm feeling. But,
Yeah.
I mean, because we want everybody to achieve their greatest. We want everybody to do well. But I mean, you really still, even if you, even if you have a bad day, even if you happen to cuss somebody out in the grocery store, I mean, you have to take that on and be like, okay, what was I going through? That's not my personality. It's just a lot going on. If I see that person again, I will apologize. But then, but a lot of times we'll just heap that. See, you're not that good anyway. Da, da, da. We heap negative on a situation that is just really part of life. Everybody has it. Everybody goes through those days. Every day you don't feel like getting up and, putting on doing your hair and getting in front of everybody else to talk about these situations. But it's life. But, we think that we're such terrible people if we haven't, you know, if we mess up one day out of 365.
Right. And
That's unrealistic.
I would be amazed if I get one day out of 365. And add in a leap year because I need that extra day to try.
Right, right.
But yeah, I was saying to somebody this morning, like, I think so many of us think if we reach a certain level of success or financial success or inner knowing, that all of a sudden problems go away. And they don't, because that's part of life. People are going to die. People are going to get sick. We're going to have challenges, maybe small things like my email being stolen, and maybe big things like cancer. I mean, we're going to have stuff that happens day in and day out. And it's not about making problems smaller. It's about recognizing that we're actually sort of like the stage that the play is happening on. So we can identify with the characters and everything that's going on, but that just makes us miserable and it keeps us stuck in the drama of it. But if we identify as the stage, like the bigness that's holding everything that's happening, then we have a little bit more capacity to handle the ups and downs without taking them personally.
Mhm.
But I find that to get there, I mean, it sounds really great, but to get there, we've got to find a place, and like we've got to start gifting ourselves some good feelings. Like we can't, so many people who focus on nutrition and diets, instead of focusing on taking things out, they'll like add in extra water. because so we got to add in extra joy in order to be able to get rid of some of the resentment and some of the bitterness and some of the fear that actually life isn't working out for us and we're the only people left out of life by God. We have that fear in us.
Right.
So when we add in more joy, it helps to give us something to hold on to while we shift how we navigate or relate to the world.
Right, right. And I always try to tell myself, I do try to like add something that makes me happy. Like I can't switch everything in a day. I can't shift everything in a day. It didn't get like this in a day.
Right.
So it's a process. So today I really can't handle this. So what I can handle is this praise music, sit down and journal. Maybe it's one piece out of 15 that I need to do that I'm just comfortable with today. I can handle it. It doesn't cause me stress because I've probably told you a couple times in our conversation, I'm really trying to be stress free. Like I was supposed to go on a retreat this past weekend, and my dad went to ER and stuff like that. And I'm like, do I go check on the parents? Will I be a bad kid if I go to this retreat? And I was just like, I'm not going to be stressed. If I don't go to the retreat, it's okay because there will be many other retreats. But how often do I get to see my parents? How often will they be here? So, you kind of have to stop for a minute, breathe, and just say, okay, where does where is the where does your heart lie? And just go with that.
Yeah. I love that because I actually ask, what's the loving choice? I ask myself that. And some people are like, oh, what would love do? And I'm like, no. Love is a concept. I ask, what's the loving choice? Because that's a feeling. And yeah, in the beginning, though, I think that even connecting to our feelings can be really hard when we want to start making a change. And I know for me, I started asking, what's the loving choice? And I would get nothing. I mean, just blank nothing. And it was probably a month of asking that question 50, 60 times, 100 times a day. And I got nothing. Wow. And then I get these little flybys and I'm like, what was that? Wait, I think that was an answer, but I don't know what it was. But I really had to practice to build it up. And I practiced with small things like standing at the fridge. My brain and my body are arguing. Part of me wants brownies, the other one wants broccoli. So it's like, what's the loving choice? And no judgment. Sometimes the answer was brownies.
Right.
But to practice in small ways so we can start to allow that heart to speak. That's really powerful.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And I think, and you're right, it's like, I think sometimes we're scared of the answers because, again, tradition, again, what we've been conditioned to, well, you need broccoli because it's healthy for you. Okay, yeah. Well, even if I have this brownie today, doesn't mean I can't have broccoli tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if we don't do it today, it can never get done. It's never going to be right. We can't fix it, right?
Well, and we're more than just one part of ourselves. Like we're a whole being. So just because that part of your brain that wants to body shame you thinks we should have broccoli doesn't mean that your emotions don't need a brownie right then. Like we don't know. We can't ever, I personally don't think I can ever put a pin on exactly what's going on for me at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
But when I ask in the moment, something like you said with the heart or like, what's the loving choice? For me, it just opens up, well, in this moment, what's the priority?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the best fit for that? And you're right. It's the small thing, it's like you said, it's making that decision that we don't have to stress.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes even when you stop and you ask that question, you might even find the answer is, okay, well, you want this brownie because somebody made you mad or you're disappointed. So, but if you really eat that brownie, is it really going to make you feel better? Is it really going to put, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes even asking that question, you're like, yeah, but I really do want the broccoli. I just was getting the brownie because I'm angry and that's my reward for being angry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes
and habit.
it works itself out and you're like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah. That's why I love that question. I feel like it just strips through so many layers. I was actually asking it this morning about finances because I'm considering making an investment, which is why I was checking all my things and everything. Our conversation about finances got me all fired up last week.
Yeah.
And my mind said, well, making an investment is silly. It's risky. It doesn't make sense. It's not the right decision. You're not in that place right now. And when I asked what's the loving choice, I was actually kind of hoping it was going to give me the excuse I needed to be like, no. But when I asked what's the loving choice, the answer was be supported. And it changed my perspective on what I was thinking about, that maybe an investment is actually me supporting myself. Maybe it's feeling less pressure. Maybe it's, whatever it is. And yeah, it was such a surprise answer. And it made me realize that, again, I'm a bigger person than my profit and loss sheet. There's more going on here than just numbers on a paper and what what we might determine our worth is based on our finances in the world. Like, that's not who we are as people. That's not what we're worthy of in relationship to other humans. So yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? And even like with me, when I really had to start talking about finances and stuff like that, I was like, because me, let's just say, still with my parents right now, I would love to be in a place where I could get them like private care.
Yeah.
Because let's say, I mean, I don't know if I'm getting in trouble talking about Humana or whoever, Blue Cross Blue Shield, whoever, they only pay for a certain amount of hours of like therapy.
Yeah.
And so, the reason I tell people is look into your finances sooner than later is because I don't care what path you go, whether you're the executive of a company, whether you're a school bus driver or whatever, later is coming.
Yeah.
And where do you want to be later? Do you still want to be able to have those options and be able to make the opinions for yourself? Or are you going to have to just be like, okay, I need to put my parent in a home and that's the only one that's going to accept me because this is all the money I have.
Right.
And do they give good care? And I'm not saying that just because people are cheaper that they don't give good care. I'm not saying that anybody, but sometimes that is the case. But your parents might need a therapist at this facility that can help them in the condition. So the facility you have to put them in is not the facility that's going to be best for them. So that's why I say it's better to look at things sooner than later because later is coming.
Yeah. Well, and I love you said that because it isn't about cheaper and more expensive, but sometimes there's something that just we want more. And maybe it is more expensive. Or we have the story that because we have to do the cheapest, it's because we're powerless. Like we don't have any choice. We don't, and choice is power. And so when we feel like we don't have choice, it sends a message to ourselves that we don't have power and we don't have the ability to improve our situation. Like it just becomes a really damaging emotional situation to feel powerless. And so even being able to make a choice that's nurturing yourself, that's caring for yourself. And I think all of us have choices. I mean, even choosing the cheapest thing is still a choice, but when we don't interpret it that way, we send ourselves a really damaging message that like erodes our confidence even more. Yeah.
Wow. So, so you in your work, like, why did you, I mean, because you could just be on this journey for yourself, right?
Yeah.
But why do you feel it's so important for you to show up? And we talked about this the other day too. In work you do, you have to be very vulnerable with where you are. You have to tell your story. Somebody's told me, it's been years. I don't really know what's going on. So, why did you say, okay, God, if this is my assignment, here I am?
Yeah. I think that's a daily surrender. And I think I'm reaching a new stage of willingness to because it is scary. It is scary and we want to protect ourselves. And I think, let me answer the question and then we'll talk about that piece because it's really fascinating. But I've known from a young age that peace really mattered to me. I just had this deep feeling that violence really wasn't natural. Like it just wasn't necessary.
Right.
And I'd see things on TV and go, what? That doesn't even make sense. Like, that's not how life is. And it was like, I'm living a movie they're hitting up against each other. They don't go together. Right. And so I went into like international peace for my degrees and for my first job in the U.S. government. And I was doing, conflict, like massive crisis and conflict resolution. So with countries at war or countries that had been invaded by other countries or ethnic conflict or civil war. And it was amazing. It was everything I ever dreamed of. But when you do everything you ever dreamed of, then it makes you wonder what's left, because you weren't supposed to run out of dreams.
Right.
And I realized that I myself was not particularly at peace, and my relationships with people were not particularly peaceful. And that the only way I could really be a true advocate for peace in the world would be to explore it myself and to embody it more fully. Because right then I was just having great ideas and talking to people and expecting them to do it, but I wasn't changing.
Right.
So it really sort of came to a head, and I thought, okay, I got to do this for myself. And I was lucky enough that I was able to save up, and I had an asset that I was able to sell. And so I didn't have to work for a little bit, so I could quit my job. And that was a really fortunate position to be in. And it was because, somebody had died and left me money, and it worked. It's a unique circumstance, and I took advantage of it, put it that way.
Right.
And it's interesting because I had so much confidence in my previous career and so much clarity. And then when I came into this world, I had so much confidence and clarity. But now it's been 10 years, and I don't know, I think I need to reach a new level of it. And when you work for yourself, or when you decide to go out, what I've experienced is when I work for myself, I go out and do something big. I want to stretch myself, like sort of crack open this part of my heart that feels closed and scared.
Yeah.
And it's required me to have more capacity, I think is the word, to feel safe in myself. And before I was looking for safety in my husband or my salary or my friends or, wherever I'm looking for it, the political climate, whatever you want to look for safety. And you're never going to find it there, right? Because people lie, they cheat on us, they leave us, they abandon us, they don't call back, they ghost us, somebody else wins, like we never find it. And so I was just feeling more and more unsafe. And then you want to, run off, like, if only I could just live in the woods or on a private island where nobody could bother me, then I'd be okay. Well, I actually got to try that, and it turns out I was still miserable because I was there. I was like, oh, I'm the problem. Gotcha.
The common denominator is me. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, okay. Well, another unique circumstance. I actually got to try that out, living on a mountain by myself for a long time. Like, oh, okay,
really?
no problem.
We have to think about that.
Yeah. But I realized, like, so the more this business has challenged me and stretched me, there are times where I have risen to that occasion, and I have stretched and found a new place in myself of worthiness, and a new place of, like, I'm a human just like every other human, and that means I have as much right to my way of being as everybody else does. And then there are times where I've shrunk and freaked out and been angry and jealous, and why does it work for everybody else but not me, and what's wrong with me, and I'm broken. And all of that was just sort of reactions to the fear of really choosing to be safe in myself, choosing to, maybe safe is the wrong word, choosing to expand my capacity to feel uncomfortable because there's something bigger going on.
Right.
And that, I like the image of being a megaphone, that maybe it's not me speaking, maybe I'm a human megaphone for God. And if I let that be, then I kind of can get over some of the stuff about me, because I don't have to make it all about me.
True.
But there are days I do not remember that.
Some days you're like, God, can I have one day that is about me, though?
Right. Well, or, my fear makes it all about me.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well,
but
no, I do think it's so much about building capacity. And it's what I love about joy work is, I'll tell you, the government strategist in me is hearing myself talk about joy. And I'm like, the biggest eye roll. I'm like, oh, really, really, Alexis, you're talking about joy. But that's how we build capacity. Most of us are so trained in feeling stressed and bad and insecure and powerless that we can't just switch it overnight. We're not going to wake up January 1st and be empowered, happy humans if we don't know how to be empowered, happy humans.
Right.
And we don't know how to relate to the next time somebody makes us angry, or the next time we have a financial issue and are totally stressed out and feeling all the shame come up. Like if we don't have the capacity to sit with or be with our uncomfortable feelings, then we can't get to the good stuff. And so what I love about joy is it just builds that capacity. It helps us start to feel okay feeling. And most of us aren't okay feeling. So we stick to feeling bad because it's something we're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is a very sad comfort zone.
Yeah, and I mean, I've certainly been guilty, but I, can see it too in other people because it's like some people just like you never have a good story to tell or nothing good has ever happened to you or
Right.
but I think sometimes we get scared to say, "Oh gosh, I am having the best day. This is just," and because everybody in the office is looking at you like, well, what happened to you? It can't just be because I just woke up and I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful, even though this is not my destined place, but while I'm here, I'm going to enjoy being here. I'm going to enjoy the perks. I'm going to enjoy the people that I see. You know what I'm saying? They're just
Yeah.
like thinking, well, what did you win the lottery or something? But it doesn't
What
have
makes
to
you
be.
special?
Yeah, but it's because everybody looks at you like, happy? Why are you happy? It's only 8:15 in the morning. What happened? So
Yeah.
where does that come from? Is like you said, just conditioning, the way we've been.
I think so. I think there's a lot of social pressure to be grumpy. I do. Because we can bond on it. There's a lot of like trauma bonding, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good word. Trauma bonding.
Yeah. And I mean, I am guilty of it myself. And I really, lately, I've been much more aware of it and realizing how I, immediately go into that critical thinking. We're also taught to be critical thinkers, which means we're supposed to spot the problems and not trust things. Like it's too good to be true. That phrase drives me nuts because then we don't open ourselves to possibilities and opportunities because it can't possibly be true.
Right.
And yeah, people get burned, but that's when we give all of our we give all of our power and responsibility to somebody else. We can still be whole humans going into things with eyes open and be more open.
Right.
But yeah, I
But
think
like,
we've all been really hurt.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. But we all have gone through a situation, and it really. What am I trying to say? Okay, let's just talk about like because sometimes people get a little nervous when you talk about finances and joy and inner peace and all that kind of stuff. But let's just talk about like McDonald's, Burger King. Sometimes you go to McDonald's and your food is not right.
Yeah.
But typically you return to McDonald's to give them another opportunity, you know?
Right.
So why not in life show up again for another opportunity?
Mm.
You know, another opportunity at that peace, another opportunity at that joy. And even if you get to the same place you got to yesterday, at least you're still moving. You know what I'm saying? So then maybe by Friday, you get a little bit further along. You might not be that change person that I'm not that change person that I'm looking forward to, that I was expecting to be at end of 2022, but I'm so much better than I was in January of 2022.
Yeah.
Even though, there are things I'm still dealing with or working on, but I can see that there's hope because I didn't go back. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
haven't gotten there yet, but I can see it. I can see the plan now. I can see the path to get there. And it's gonna be full of ups and downs, bumps and bruises, but it's okay because I'm gonna go back to McDonald's because I enjoy their fries. And I know
Right.
somebody just was had attitude in the kitchen and they just didn't want to cook it right today. But I'm going back to McDonald's because they got my favorite fries and my tea. Okay.
Exactly. Well, I love that. I love the McDonald's example because it's like, yeah, of course, that's so obvious. We would give them another try. So
Yeah,
why don't we give ourselves another try? Yeah.
exactly.
Well, and it's practice. And I think that's the thing that really struck me is I kept thinking if I just get this degree, if I get this promotion, if I publish my book, if I do this, then I'll be happy. Well, guess what? I did all those things. And now I'm like, oh, and people are like, oh, you wrote a book. I'm like, no, it's just a journal. Right? We immediately go back to, I'm not good enough. Nothing I do is good enough. It's right. We just go back to the old habit, because just like you're saying, we don't practice every single day. And when we practice, then it gets bigger and bigger. We have more capacity, right? We get to be a different person. And I keep, the core of my work is that it's not about where you go. It's about who you're becoming. And that is the core of my work. And that means that every single day I have to remind myself, it's not about what you achieve, it's who you're becoming. And can we allow for those daily gifts? Like any other day, previously, last year, 6 months ago, this issue of my Experian account being the one that is a fraud, I mean, not being able to get through to customer service and pressing 0 1,000 times, it would just drive me insane.
Right.
Today, I thought I let myself go there, but also thought it was kind of funny. I was like, what are the chances of this? When talking to you, the financial guru, like, what are the chances of all of this happening right now? And instead of feeling like, well, this is why I can never get ahead. This is why everything's messed up and I'm irresponsible with money. This is why I viewed it the other way around. Look at me doing what I can to take care of myself.
Right.
But that mindset did not exist before, right? Like that is the daily stuff. That's all the times we did the loving choice and built that sense of, I'm going to take care of me.
I love this, and I know you have something coming up this week, actually, don't you? I don't know. I'm signed up for it, but I can't remember the title.
All the names, they're all the same. I'm like, soul this, authentic that. Yeah, this one is Unleash Your Authentic Self. And yeah, exactly. We're talking about, so many of us want to be more authentic, or we think we're authentic because we have a big persona, or we have like a real clear way of being in the world, or we speak our minds. But speaking our mind or having a big personality doesn't necessarily mean we're tapped into what's true for us. It just means we have a way of moving in the world that works for us. And so I think being more authentic can actually feel really vulnerable, because we're opening to feeling and opening to being more present. So instead of having the witty response or knowing exactly what to do, we're open to being uncomfortable so that truth can come out. And yeah. And so one of my, favorite ways to build that authenticity is goes back to joy. And again, I still can't believe I'm talking this much about joy, but it's been a life changer for me and so many of my clients. Like when we start to build joy and like as a practice, then we're able to create boundaries and to have hard conversations and to quit smoking and to do things, that otherwise would be really difficult, because we've just built up another side of ourselves. Yeah. And I just want to say, I don't mean like, often when I talk about joy, people are like, well, I don't have the money or the time to go out and party or to go to a big dinner or go to the spa. I'm like, no. We're not talking about like momentary pleasure. We are, but not like that. That's another way we've told ourselves that like joy is inaccessible. I'm talking about like today, right now, like what can I do just for me today? Just one thing for me today, because I exist today. And most of the time I'm not existing for today. I'm existing for when I get that pay raise, when Friday comes and it's my time, right? And we just wish away our lives for retirement, for the day we win the lottery, for that magical future that is coming, that we think is going to be better. Yeah. That we think is going to be better. And I realized, when I was miserable and wishing away my life waiting for the weekend, that actually Tuesday is my life too. And so it wasn't about like, oh, can I go out to this magical, amazing dinner and, 5-star lifestyle? Like it wasn't about that kind of joy. It was about, well, how am I going to celebrate that I'm alive on a Tuesday when I have to go to work and then have meetings?
Right.
How am I going to celebrate? I was talking to a woman last week who gets up at 4 a.m. She has 5 children. She's caregiver for her mom who has dementia, and she's married. She gets up at 4, goes to bed at 10. She's like, how am I supposed to be happy? And I was like, well, you're miserable, so you've chosen a feeling. Like we can choose a different one, but we don't have to have time to be happy. We don't have to have time to create joy. we just shift the perspective. So maybe while she's driving her kids to school and back, she
Yeah.
can look at the sun coming through a tree and go, that little bit of beauty right there, that's for me. And that's
Mhm.
enough. That's enough to start to open the gates.
Excuse me. And that is so cool. I love that image because too, for me, when you were talking about it, I was like, man, and if she can see the beauty in it as she's driving her kids to school, she can cause them to know, look, kids, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it really is a lot of this is we talk about legacies, we talk about inheritance and stuff, and a lot of the feelings, a lot of the hopefulness or just how we think about life mindset, it's kind of been passed down from
Yes.
generation to generation.
Yeah.
So if she can stop and like you said, the time is now. Whatever you're doing, if you're having to clean your parents behind, I'm thankful that I could be here to help.
Yeah. Or even if you're not thankful, like maybe you can have a sip of water and be like, that sip of water's for me. Everything about my life sucks, but this one's for me, Because that's the
Yeah,
thing, like,
whatever it is for you, yeah, if it
yeah. Well, because sometimes your life situation does suck.
I
Like
mean, yeah.
sometimes it's
Mhm.
really bad and
Mhm.
it's not going to end for a while.
Right,
But
right.
that doesn't mean that you have to stop living because you still exist. Like your life still matters and your joy still matters.
Hmm.
And your
No,
perspective, you still exist.
true, true. That is, I mean, and that's true. I guess for me, because so many years I saw the pain and I saw the unpleasantness. Why it has to be me? Why I always have to give up? And I was like, okay, girl.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, you're only child, so you just gonna have to do it. You don't have to, but it's your choice. You don't have to, because like you said, we always have a choice. But for me, and I've lived with so many regrets, stopped doing
Mhm.
stuff because people don't like me, and oh my gosh, if I can't live for those people anymore. They don't care about me. They living their life. So for me, I'm just like every day, well, whether anybody likes this post or not, it make me feel good. So I put it on Facebook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and that joy, like you're saying, it's that inner thing. We have to stop thinking it's coming from the outside. It can bring us something from the outside, can bring us joy. Like I love Christmas lights. That makes me smile.
Mm.
But Christmas lights are here. How often throughout the year? So I have to find something else that brings me joy besides Christmas lights because they're temporary.
Yeah.
So, I think we have to really get into it and feel it. And like you said, it's just being honest too about how you feel
Yeah.
is so important. And it's like you said, you can be mad. Say if your parents are sick, you can be mad that this person left you because that's that's something to be angry about. But just don't let it consume your life, right?
Right.
Because you can be happy beyond the separation.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Those feelings are happening on the stage, but you're the stage. You're not the
Mhm.
feeling.
Listen, I'm right. No, you think I'm kidding?
Yeah, well, I think I really feel like this is one of the gifts of your work is that the financial aspect of our lives is an area where this is so huge. This is so huge, right? We feel completely overwhelmed. Perhaps we're totally dug in. We feel like we're never going to get out of it. Life is stacked against us. Society is stacked against us. Like we can feel really, really stuck. And in
Mhm.
that place, yeah, it can be easy just to do nothing because why bother? But the why bother isn't because, yeah, someday we're going to be multimillionaires. That's not the why bother. The why bother is because I care about myself enough to 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 take care of myself today. And it's the same with joy. Yeah, your situation may be terrible, but the why bother is not because joy is going to miraculously change your situation. It's because you deserve to feel good, because
Right.
no matter what your circumstances are, you still you still get the possibility of feeling free and joyful and in integrity and proud of yourself no matter what.
Right.
And I
Right.
only know that because I spent so much time reading about people who like were in prison or in concentration camps or in horrible situations. I mean, one of my personal heroes, Nelson Mandela, like a phenomenal example of people
Mhm.
who were in horrible circumstances and discovered in those circumstances that they could find an inner freedom. And to me, that was so mind blowing because I genuinely thought it was about our circumstances.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought life had to be perfect. And so to have somebody who's changed the entire world say, no, it's not. I found it in myself. I was like, wait, then I am not really showing up. Like I'm on the wrong path, right? And yeah, so I think this is what I just love about your financial work, because it's the same thing. It's like it doesn't matter how hopeless it is. We got to do it for ourselves,
Right.
not
Right.
because we're trying to be Warren Buffett.
Right. Right. And it was so funny, and I don't really know what I was thinking at the time, but I remember driving home and I was like, somehow the thought came that there's probably more people in prison that are free than people that are on the streets. Now they're locked up, their time is determined to them, when they eat, when they sleep, but they've come to a place of peace, that place of
Mhm.
peace, that place of freedom. Okay, I did this and I'm doing the time, but I'm not locked up anymore. I don't, and I don't really, I wish I knew what made me think that. It was something, it was a whole conversation I was having in my head.
That's mind blowing. You might be right. I do. I think that people who are pushed to the limits, like this is why when people are like, "Oh, I'm going through a crisis," and I'm like, "Okay, I don't have a problem with that." Like hitting rock bottom is sometimes the thing we need to turn it around. And now we
Hmm.
all have a different rock bottom, and we all have a different straw that broke the camel's back, right? But when we push ourselves to the extreme, to me, what I realize is that the most beautiful empowered space, our purpose, like the light side that we just exude in the world, and that shadow and the disempowered and everything is broken and I'm inherently broken, the shortest path between those two things and the totality that is you is straight through them.
Hmm.
So when we hit that total, I am worthless, nothingless, powerless, everything has gone wrong, we are just one more push right through to the other side. Instead of,
Hmm.
but most of us live around the globe and we live like, well, I'm kind of okay and I'm a little ashamed, but I'll ignore that to try to be happy, and I'm trying to get over on this light side, and it's like, no, 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 don't try there. We don't try to get there by, again, perfecting ourselves. We get there by really acknowledging, like you said, oh, I did this thing. Like what part of me created that? Like how did that even happen? And when we face it, when we face all those horrible feelings, including anger, and I know people are really scared of anger because they're afraid they're going to burn their lives down or hurt people they love. I
Hmm.
have never found somebody to be able to sustain real rage for more than 5 minutes, because that's something I do in my work. I'm like, okay, here we go. I've got a process for it. 5 minutes and we're through. And on the other side of anger is so much compassion for ourselves and for others. And I think
Right.
that's what people who really gift themselves or are stuck in a situation where they have to face it, they go straight through to the other side. And it's miraculous.
Wow.
So I believe you. I believe you. I think you might be right.
Yeah, and I mean, even when we're talking about like financial stuff, I mean, there was a time I was the person. If it was an unknown call, I'd be like, I know it's a bill collector. But now, I mean, I just answer whoever. I'm like, it doesn't bother me because I'm pretty sure it's not a bill collector now, but it could be somebody from the past. But whoever it is, even if it is a bill collector, I can say, oh, you know what? I forgot about that, or I didn't have the money to pay that. So what can we do to handle this?
Right.
Can
You're taking the
you
shame
can
out of
you
it.
allow me to make 4 payments and I'll get it taken care of? But there's so much, like you said, power and peace, and just being able to answer the phone and deal with it instead of monitoring my phone all day. Oh my gosh, who was that? When it could have been Carnival giving me a free cruise. You could have missed out on a blessing because you were annoyed, ignoring phone calls. So, it is, you really just, we can't wait on the bill collectors to, excuse me, to send us a sign and say, well, it's paid off. It's probably not going to happen. But you can be proactive in getting it paid off. You
Yeah.
can, because if you work with them, they may not add it to your credit score, but if they're not hearing from you, if you're not returning phone calls, oh, it's going on your credit score. So, it's just ways of, And like you said, even if you're at the age and you're trying to, we talked about this on a show that I was being interviewed on Saturday. You know, you started late. Maybe you're not ready for retirement. Maybe you're not going to end up with Warren Buffett money, but we can put something in place so that you can be more at peace, so
Yeah.
you can look forward more to retirement. So don't ever give up hope where you are, right? Because
Yeah.
it can always be shifted, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's such a beautiful example of when you take the shame out of it, you're able to show up for it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that frees you. It frees you to be more than just shame.
And you can even show it with more clarity because then, like I said, then I'm giving them options. Well, can we do this? You know what I'm saying? Because hey, I want to take care of this because I want to get this off my credit. I want to deal with this. You know, and now sometimes, like in relationships and things like that, the person you want to deal with or you want to talk to, they may not talk to you,
Yeah.
but you still have to find a place, a way to be at peace. Because I'm thinking about a friend of mine, and the relationship is really rocky. I don't ever tell, won't you leave that man? People always say, but I'm like, whatever you decide, you have to be at peace.
Yeah.
You have to be happy. You have to be able to show up for yourself and show up for your children. So what can you do for you?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where people like Alexis Pierce comes in.
Well, it's true. I mean, this is one of the things I see. Like, people ask me all the time, well, what do you work on with people? And I'm like, everything. Because some people come in with relationships and some people come in with jobs or money issues or any of that stuff. Because at the core of it, what's happening is we're not making decisions that feel good and right because we're playing in what I call the coping skills and trauma responses. So I know you've heard this, but I envision it like we're standing on a big rug, and that rug is all the ways that we've been taught to be. And some of that's because we've had real trauma. And trauma, by the way, is anything that either shouldn't have happened that did, or should have happened that didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So all of us have it to some extent.
Right.
And then we have coping responses or coping skills that we've developed to navigate life and stay safe when things were not perfect and as they should have been, that all of us also have. And so we're sort of moving, like we're on autopilot, just going with those ways that we've taught ourselves to be to make it work. But then we get to a certain point where we're like, this doesn't feel good anymore. Like, I don't want to argue all the time. I don't want to constantly break up and then get back together to prove that you love me enough, because that's what I need to feel like we just don't, we get to a point where we just don't like the way that we've created these interactions in our lives.
Right.
And that means that we could spend, again, self-perfecting. Like a lot of what you find out, like advice online or what people say is they're like, oh, well, just work on this or work on this belief that you have that you're broken or work on blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's just standing on this carpet trying to fix this carpet. There is no way to roll up this carpet while you're standing on it. The only way to roll up this carpet is to stand on something new. And that's a new way of being, new skills, new communication tools, new perspectives and perception of yourself, new beliefs about yourself, right? And that's what I love about the work that I get to do, and like bringing in tiny things like joy. And I mean, joy is a huge thing, but tiny daily joys is that some of us can take a flying jump and leap over to that new rug, but most of us need to tiptoe over there, and then we freak out and we come back and then we tiptoe again, right? And we're just like, okay, is it safe over here? And we're slowly inching our way towards that new rug. And then all of a sudden we're on the new rug. We have like a totally different conversation, like with the bill collector or with our parents, or all of a sudden we just realize, wow, I just was able to handle that so differently. And I feel really good in myself. I didn't cross my own boundaries. I didn't go back to the old skills. And all of a sudden that old rug is rolled up and it went away and we never even noticed, because we weren't trying to fix it. We were focused on becoming somebody with more, just more capacity and integrity. So I
like that. You cannot roll this rug up while you're still on it. Yeah.
No, you can't. You can't.
That is so cool. I mean, it for me, y'all know how I am. It'd be like little things like that. I'm like, yes, yes. And I honestly take notes. And I hope, somebody who's listening today, I hope you're taking notes. But guess what? The replay is still going to be on the page. If you need to go back and listen to this 2 or 3 times and be like, okay, let me make sure I understand this concept, or let me see how it works for me. We're not coming with a blanket, okay, you need to do this. You need to pray 5 hours a day, or you need to journal for 2 minutes as soon as you wake up. We all have different lives. We all have different responsibilities, but you definitely have to be on this journey for yourself,
Hmm.
and then, like Alexis keeps saying, as you start building your capacity within yourself, then that's yourself and your joy and your peace is going to start overflowing to
Hmm.
your family and to your friends and your loved ones, on your job, wherever it is you need it the most. So, just stay on the journey. That's my only. Let's high five. Let's stay on the journey together. So, Alexis, I know, like I said, and I don't even think I let you finish it, but I know you have something coming up this week. Can people still register for this?
Yes, it's absolutely free. It's 3 days of trainings. I'm gonna try to keep them short, which is not always my strong suit. But just about exactly how do we go about being more authentic and connecting to a truer place, instead of just the old carpet, right? How do we shift that identity to a new place? Yeah, it's absolutely free. I think it's Becoming University, so becoming and then you university. .com and / unleash.
Alan, do you have that banner by any chance? I try to send them stuff, but sometimes I have days and I don't get stuff to them on
Yeah,
time. So.
I just created it. I was a little behind. Yeah, it's totally free, and it's really
But
cool. And if you can't find that, you can just find me online through this, and we'll connect you to it if it interests you.
yeah, and then like I signed up for something else. Alexis has coming up in the beginning of the year. 30 days of joy or joy.
Yeah. So when I was in a really hard place, when I realized that, oh shoot, Tuesday is my life as much as Friday and Saturday are my life. Like, well, how am I going to feel good on Tuesdays? I created this little process for myself that I did every day, and it made a massive difference, and it kind of blew me away. And so I made another copy for somebody back then. Um,
Keep talking. Go ahead.
okay, I made another, but I couldn't figure out how to make other copies. But when COVID hit, I went, oh, we have this little thing called Amazon that we can publish books on. So I put the process that I had gone through 10 years prior into a 90-day journal, and it's cool. It's like $14.99. You can do it at home by yourself and see pretty massive results. And in January, what I do is I like to kick off the year with a 30-day guided process where we all go through it together, because a lot of people have questions about joy. Like, so many questions about joy when we get into it. Like, well, if I feel good, what if somebody in my life is miserable? Am I cheating on them? Or am I going to have to break up with toxic people in my life because people tell you to do that? I'm like, oh, no, no, we're just shifting carpets and people will fall away. So, when we go to work on being happier, actually a lot of the reasons we're not happy come up. And so I like to create this beautiful month so that I can help people through some of those doubts and fears and questions about all the stuff that's coming up that was in the way of being happy, so that by the end of that month, they've got the journal, they can keep going and keep building that happiness for themselves. But we just do a big clear out in the beginning of the year. It's really fun. It's super easy. You only have to show up for one word a day, and then everything else is just bonus to support you.
Sweet. So I'm signed up for that too. If y'all want to come along that journey, because I was like, I'm telling you, I'm on a journey, a mission to be at peace. I know every day is not going to be peaceful, but I don't have to let that day just completely, you know, capsulate my life. Is that the word? So, I mean, but again, being on the journey, and that's where you have to show up, right? That's where you have to start, because it's all about us. Because what I keep hearing through this conversation is we're not going to be able to control every outside piece of our life, every individual that we, really have to maybe spend our entire life with. Family is family. coworkers are coworkers, they're going to be there. So, but we have to make sure we are at peace and we show up for ourselves. And so I'm excited, and I definitely I ordered the book, so it should be here this week.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought I had a copy to show, but I'm like, I don't know where it is.
But yeah, so I'll definitely make sure I put that link for this week in the description of the video, and the link to where they can order your book and all that stuff in the description. And so, again, I can't believe our time is up, but I'm so excited, and I appreciate you coming, sharing with the family, because listen, we are a family, and I used to say I don't need anybody. I'm a Long Island, as long as I'm gonna do what I can do, and then if I can't get it done, just wasn't meant to be. Well, I've grown up a little bit along the way. And I realized that I had to reach out for help. Sometimes I need a coach, like Alexis, people who are doing the work already, so why would I sit around and try to figure out what Alexis is already, done? Why not just tag up with Alexis and be like, hey, this is where I am. Where can we go from here? So, coaching and things like that are so important. Finances are important because, as we talked about, all these things have emotional energy,
Yeah.
physical energy, spiritual energy. And so, what we're trying to do, both in our own respect, is build wealth inside and out.
Mm.
So, Alexis, I wanted to give you opportunity to give any last words of advice, tell everybody where they can follow you. Just your last words of whatever it can be, advice or a piece of encouragement, whatever.
Thank you. I would just reiterate what you just said. You deserve to be nourished. You deserve to be taken care of. You deserve to be supported in every way, whether that's a network of friends, whether that's joy, whether that's nature, whether that's finances, all of it actually, like, you deserve to be supported and nourished and happy. Yeah. And I'm Alexis Pierce Official everywhere. That's my tag.
Everywhere, so you can find her.
Yeah.
She is not hiding. And so, this work it is vulnerable work. Be you're gonna have some good days, you're gonna smile some days, you're gonna cry some days. But you know what? I found that there's a release even in the tears.
Yeah.
There's a release even in being angry, and that thing about anger. The Bible helped me so much, because there's a scripture that says it's okay to be. I don't know exactly how the scripture goes, but the interpretation for me is it's okay to be angry, but sin not.
Mm.
So it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to know that somebody disappointed you, that or whatever, but just don't take it to that next level where it becomes sin in your life.
Mm.
Because now then it's not on them, but it's on you.
Yeah.
So it's okay to be angry. It's okay not to be okay. I mean, during COVID, at first I was like, oh yeah, I'm working from home, everything's cool. But then I was like, okay, I'm working from home, and I wonder what everybody else is doing. Can't go see my parents quite yet. Don't really know what's going on because I got to be here for work. I had some moments, and then with all the racist stuff that was, racial stuff, I was really having some moments, and there were some days I was not okay,
Right.
and I never felt some of that before.
Mm.
So, but listen, look at me today. I got some joy in my life, and I'm excited, and I lived through that. And you can live through. There's trauma, but you can live through it. You can thrive through it. You can survive
Mm.
and keep pushing on. And then who knows where God might call you? You might be helping somebody else a few years down the road. Who knows what your victory can mean to somebody else, right? So, Alexis, I love you. I'm so thankful for your peace and your joy. And I'm so thankful that you're a place where I can come and be like, Lexus, I'm really pissed off about this. I don't know what I'm doing here. It's good to have those places where you can, and you're just like, you're so funny. And I'm like, who's she laughing? She's not funny.
I do. I love when people are in crisis, because honestly, I fundamentally believe that every single thing that happens is for you, but we don't always take the invitation.
Yeah.
And my favorite invitations are rage and shame because they're the most transformative. There's so much energy when we let ourselves really go there. Like you said, not to sin, not to sit in it, but to allow it to grow us and get to the truth that's at the core of it, which you're right, it isn't right. And there are injustices and there are issues and right. Like there's so much power to be embraced when we allow ourselves to really go into it.
Yeah. And you take all that and you come out that much stronger. I love it. I'm excited. So listen, you guys reach out to Alexis. Just let her know where you are, see what she can do. She can tell you what she can do and what she can't do. But listen, you don't have to do this by yourself. We are here together. We're here to help you along the way. Again, we're making connections. We're here every Saturday at 12. Yep. And every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If there's anything you ever need, if you like, have you ever had a show about this or whatever, reach out to us. So you can send me email at info@alysiajohnson.com. That's info at, I don't know if Alan has that, ALYSSIA Johnson.com. If you're interested in being on the show or you can want to suggest somebody for the show, you can always go to calendly.com/making connections TV, or just direct message just in Messenger. So we reply to that pretty quickly. So again, I guess I'm talking because I want to keep talking to Alexis, but maybe we'll talk offline because I want to know about that time you spent on that island and how that went for you. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the work you do, uplifting everyone.
Yes, I love you. Love you. We love you. So as always, until next time, we're leaving you with love, positivity, and good vibes. Have a great day, everybody. See you, Alexis.
Thank you.
Alan, are you still with us?
Got me